It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Dave Bentley, who has a podcast and a panel called Three Levels Panel. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Brendan. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Can you talk about how you got started with this panel?
Yeah, so obviously, the pandemic kind of hit at the most inopportune time for basketball season and college basketball being in the conference tournament time and the NBA kind of wrapping up, and everyone kind of didn't know what to do during this time. So, I had started seeing some Zooms and virtual things and had participated in a few, and they were really helpful, and a lot of it was coaches kind of sharing chalk talk, X and O's, and one of the big things that I really enjoy about the coaching business is the relationships part, and not being able to have the Final Four this year because of the pandemic and COVID. I thought it'd be really cool to have a Zoom with just kind of people sharing their stories and things like that. And I just kind of took a step of faith and, got some coaches together that I had known in the past and formed relationships with, and kind of just started from there. And, last night was actually our 25th week. And again, here we are 25 weeks later, still rolling.
Can you talk about your experience from last night?
Yeah, it was really good. We actually kind of did something different. We had two college referees on, and I hadn't seen any referees on any Zooms. I just thought it'd be really good because I've got a really good friend that does college officiating, and I think the relationship between coaches and officials can oftentimes be a little strenuous or tense because of just the dynamic between a coach that's really trying to coach his team up, referees are trying to manage the game, and that relationship can kind of be strained just because of the two kind of clashing people in a game. So I had two really good officials on, and Jamie Lucky and Ted Valentine, and just shared their thoughts on ways for coaches to better the coach official relationship. So I thought it was really good, and I got a lot of good feedback from it.
Can you talk about being a part of Rising Coaches?
Sure, Rising Coaches is really good. I've known, so I'm from the upstate of South Carolina area, not too far from Clemson, and several of the guys that started Rising Coaches were on staff at Clemson at some point. And so I've known those guys for quite a few years, and really followed their stuff. Most of their conferences were always on the West Coast or in the Midwest, and I wasn't able to ever get to one. And then last summer they finally came to the East Coast and had one in Charlotte, so I went up there, and then this past, I think, summer they started their memberships, and so they're an organization that really looks on developing relationships with coaches, connecting people, and helping you kind of grow in the game to get connected to people in front of you, people at the same level as you, and also to turn around and help people behind you. So Rising Coaches is a great organization, and I know they've helped a lot of coaches.
I saw that you are a basketball coach for a high school yourself. Can you talk about that experience?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm an assistant coach at Hargrave Military Academy in the prep circuit, and I also coach AAU with Upward Stars during the spring, summer, and being involved with Hargrave has been really incredible. I'm really fortunate that A.W. Hamilton, who's now the head coach at Eastern Kentucky, who used to be the head coach at Hargrave, and then Lee Martin, who actually just this summer got an assistant job at Ohio University. Those two were the ones that really invited me in, took me in, hired me, and I'm really grateful for them. And being involved with Hargrave has been really beneficial for me as a coach, growing just from the connections, being involved with the caliber of players we always have in our program, and being able to learn the prep game, because It's not really super known, the prep schools, the postgraduates throughout college basketball, but a lot of coaches come to the schools every year to look for their players. So that part has helped me. And then obviously being involved with Upward Stars has helped me from an AAU perspective because I get to learn the AAU game. I get to meet more coaches through that way. And I get to have, I get to have relationships with kids because, especially with Hargrave, we don't get to recruit during the year a lot. So being on the AAU circuit allows me to be sort of in the mud with all the kids during the spring, summer that we might have a chance to get. So both of those programs and organizations have really helped me a lot, and I owe a lot to my coaching career to both of them.
Were you there whenever Kevin Keats from NC State was at Hargrave?
I was not there when he was, but just through Hargrave's really a tight knit family. So just through knowing Coach Hamilton, Coach Lee Martin, and the other guys, obviously you in turn get to know Coach Keats. So I know Coach Keats pretty well, but I was not on campus when he was.
Can you talk about some of the famous people that you've interviewed for the 3-level panel?
I don't know how famous they are, but they we've had a really good a good core of coaches, and I guess some of the bigger names would be we've had a lot of the top young head coaches. Carmen Massarello at Siena. I don't know if I can remember all 25 weeks, but Carmen Massarello at Siena, really good friend of mine. We've gotten to know him. He was our first week. We've had Jamie and Christian from George Washington was a recent one. We've had Dusty May at Florida Atlantic, Joel Justice, assistant at Kentucky. We've had a lot of the top, high major assistants that are kind of on the cusp of being a head coach. Darius Nichols at Florida, Alvin Brooks III at Baylor, who's actually kind of one of the pioneers, if you will, for all these Zooms during the pandemic, who started his Be Ready. Ryan Price at Southern University, he's another one that I've really gotten close with. He started a Zoom also during this time. Let's Grow. We've had a lot. We've had a lot of good coaches from different levels. How I tried to organize it was a head coach that's within his first 5 years was my initial thought. And as I kind of moved through the process, that number I started to run out really quickly. So I just kind of had to just go with any head coach. Then I tried to get a mid-major or a high major assistant that's right on the cusp of being a head coach, just to kind of talk about what they're doing to prepare themselves to be a head coach. And then I tried to kind of find a mid-major assistant who, what I would like to say is kind of on the grind, but, might be 5 years away from being a head coach, but is just kind of working his way up. So we've had a lot of good names. Again, I'd be, remiss if I miss anybody. I'm sure I can't name every 25 weeks that we've had, but they've been really good. We did an NBA week where we had Ryan Pannone from the Erie Bayhawks, Will Hardy from the San Antonio Spurs, and Jordan Sternkamp from the Charlotte Hornets on, which that was pretty cool. We did a women's week where we had Coach Corey Irvin at St. Xavier in Chicago, who I've really gotten close with during this time, just learning from her and talking to her. She's a really good coach. We had Chris Daly on from UConn, and then Jackie Carson from Furman. So that was pretty cool to kind of learn the women's side, hear from the women's perspective. So we did a mock interview week. So it's been, we had the officials week. We had Alan Stein and Kevin Eastman. I guess to answer your question about the famous ones, they might be the most famous or most well-known. But, I think all 25 weeks have really been unique and beneficial in their own right.
Can you talk about how you go about the process of getting the coaches on? Like, for example, I follow them on Twitter and some follow me back, but then I email a lot of coaches.
Sure. Most of the time, I have some form of relationship with them previously, whether it was working at camp in the past, whether it was meeting them at a speaking event or a conference. the Final Four or something of that ilk, whether it was meeting them on the road, recruiting, and being able to sit with them and pick their brain. Um, and then honestly, sometimes I would say that would cover 2/3 of the people that we've had on. The other third, I would say, is either a mutual friend that I say would love to have this person on. Can you get me in touch with him? Or I just sort of throw a shot in the dark and reach out and email them or something, and they're so gracious and humble to respond and come on. So that's probably the ways that I go about. I would say the majority of them. There's been a couple that have been on that have reached out and sort of asked to be on, and I'll be honest, I've only allowed one, maybe two of those, just because, in my opinion, I feel like if you're asking to be on these type of things, you're sort of self-promoting, and I know there's a little bit of self-promotion in everyone to some extent, but what I don't want on this Zoom is I don't want it to you to have an agenda coming on, as I really wanted to just be you coming on to share with other people and help them grow, as opposed to trying to grow your own agenda. So that's kind of been how I've gone about having the guest on.
How has having the guest on helped you with your assistant job at Harvard?
At Hard Grade, yes.
Yes.
So I think it's helped me a lot in um, connecting more people. I've met a lot of people, obviously, through this time, that have come on that I didn't previously know. I think it's helped strengthen the relationships that I already did have, whether it be, me helping give them a platform to help elevate themselves, or just reconnecting with someone that I maybe hadn't talked to in a few months or even years. Um, so I think that's probably been the way it's helped me the most, is just kind of the connection networking part, and just the relationship, because you ask anybody, you jump on any Zoom and ask kind of the coaching advices, that they're going to start with the word relationships. And I think the better, more genuine relationships you have in this business, the better off you're going to be. That doesn't mean you're going to rise up the business that fast, but I think you're going to be in a better spot with good, solid, genuine relationships. And actually, just to kind of use a quote from one of the weeks we had Rob Lanier on, from the head coach of Georgia State, shared a quote that said, be more concerned about your reputation than relationships, because if you know a lot of people but don't have a great reputation, you just know a lot of people that don't think very highly of you. So I think that's where the relationship part of coming in, but also knowing your reputation and being genuine with people. So it's really helped me in that area. And then also I've learned a lot about the business. I've learned, the things that people are doing to prepare head coach to prepare themselves to be a head coach for maybe one day when I'm in those shoes. And I've also learned people have been really open and transparent about sharing their shortcomings or their mistakes, and hopefully that, we don't make those same mistakes. So those are just some of the things that I've learned in this time.
What advice would you give upcoming sports podcasts that are looking to do a panel, just how the 3-level panel is?
I would say act, go, jump, whatever you want to, the verb you want to use is just go for, don't, I could have had all these thoughts and wishes and thoughts on paper and all that, but sometimes you just got to act and get it started. And it might not look good at first, and it might, be some errors and some mishaps and whatnot, but you learn along the way. And as the more you go, we've almost gotten in a rhythm now that the thing almost runs itself. Like if I couldn't be on one week, I could find someone else to run it and it would run itself. So I would say my biggest advice would just be go for it, act, jump, because the more you sit on it and wait, the more reasons you're going to come up with to not do it. So if you just go for it and sort of jump in, it's kind of like that sink or swim approach is if you just jump in, you're going to figure out a way to get back to the side and keep it rolling. So I would say just fill in whatever verb you are and go for it.
That's great advice. What advice would you give upcoming assistant coaches or even head coaches looking to get into coaching?
So you're asking people that are looking to get into coaching or people that are already in?
Looking to get into coaching.
Yeah, I would say sort of like I just kind of touched on is obviously relationships are important. You want to meet as many people and network and things like that. But I think you have to be a good person, have good morals, be about the right things. Um, don't have bad intentions or um, selfish motives and things like that. Don't do that because this business is we have a really great business and there's a lot of messed up people in it, but there's also a lot of really good people. And it sometimes could get a bad rap because of the messed up people doing it for selfish reasons. So I would say, one, be a good person, be about the right things. And two, I would say you've got to look to help other people, because if you're in it for yourself, then you're getting away from the players, the other coaches in this business. And I think by helping other people, in turn, yourself will get helped. You will get helped yourself by you raising other people will in turn cause them to probably pick you up as well. So I guess my two pieces would be form genuine relationships with people, be about the right things, and then look for any opportunity you can to help others.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, so my Twitter name is at Dav Bentley, DAV. There's a story behind that. When I was in high school, we had a kid coming in from a rival school, and I was texting him, and I had gotten a new phone number, and I said, and I meant to say Dave, and I left off the E and said DAV, and he just started calling me Dav. So my Twitter name was, it's at Dav Bentley, DAV Bentley, just like the car, BENTLEY. So that's DAV BENTLEY on Twitter. And then on Instagram, my name is just David B. Bentley. David B. Bentley. And those are the two best ways I'd say to connect. And, obviously I'm always looking to meet more people and connect with as many people as I can.
Thank you again, David, for your interview, and best of luck in the 3-level panel.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you having me on and really appreciate you giving me a platform to share. So thank you again.
You're welcome. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, David, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.